We need help. Anger mounts as Venezuela's worst ever blackout enters day 4.
Here's a summary of the article.
Furious Venezuelans lined up to buy water and fuel on Sunday as the country entered a 4th day of a nationwide blackout that has left already scarce food rotting in shops, homes suffering for lack of water and cell phones without reception. The country's worst ever power outage comes as Maduro faces a hyperinflationary economic collapse and an unprecedented political crisis. No country can bear 50 hours without electricity. We need help. We are in a humanitarian crisis. Only around 100 of the country's 1,800 service stations were in operation due to the blackout, according to gas station industry sources. At hospitals, the lack of power combined with the absence or poor performance of backup generators led to the death of 17 patients across the country, non-governmental organization Doctors for Health said on Saturday. The extent of the blackout's impact on the country's crude oil production, the source of nearly all the government's export earnings, remained unclear. Most of the key joint ventures between PDVSA and foreign partners in the Orinoco Belt, the country's main crude region, run on their own generators.
This post received a score of 46,261, with an upvote ratio of 85%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
I see a lot of news about this blackout, but none that seem to clarify its source. Can anyone elucidate me on that? What's causing the shutdown, and why isn't it being touted on the news?
Apparently a key transformer blew in Bolívar state, according to German Dam, a Venezuelan journalist active on Twitter. The infrastructure has been neglected in the country. I haven't seen any mention of sabotage or if this is just crumbling infrastructure.
From the article. I mean, I could see either claim as valid. The U.S. has a history of doing nefarious shit to get people in a country to revolt, especially in the Western Hemisphere, but corruption and misappropriated funds or simply misallocated funds can have pretty devastating consequences. Just ask the people in Flint, Michigan.
Venezuelan expat here. In this case it's almost absolutely certain that it was due to lack of maintenance and infrastructure from the regime. The regime has no coherent explanation, crying hackers and sabotage with no evidence.
Another Venezuelan here, this Redditor is spot on.
There was a post-apocalyptic book one read years ago that said something along the lines, "Everyone civil till the lights and water go out." Edits, went through my books pretty sure it was The Last Policeman by Ben H. Winter. Gave it 2 stars, wouldn't recommend. Good Omens, by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Civilization is 2 Mrs. Meals and 24 hours away from barbarism, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. My grandma was a young girl during the Leningrad blockade. Nazis couldn't take the city, but they blocked off supplies for 3 years to try starve the city out. At its peak, there were 100,000 people dropping dead from starvation per month. One day my grandma was sneakily led away by an elderly neighbor to her house, but my grandma's relative saw them at the last minute and took her back. Later turned out that lady was stealing young kids to turn them into human meat pies.
What happened to the old lady?
Likely nothing. Cannibalism was rampant in Leningrad during the siege. Edit, cannibalism.
Looking at some of the diaries found during the siege, we know that there was 2 types of cannibalism that occurred. The first being eating those who have died, and the second was eating a human being one has killed for the express purpose of nourishment. Now from what I have read elsewhere, the Soviet government would not prosecute the former, but would execute the latter.
Greater than now from what I have read elsewhere, the Soviet government would not prosecute the former, but would execute the latter. Well, once they're executed they weren't just killed just for nourishment, so, meal time?
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.